Welcome to Chanel. U.S. war in Ukraine continues at full speed, with exacerbations of all fronts, including inside the Washa and Crimea, as the conflict enters a new phase, with the withdrawal of the invading Russian army from Kherson, who has been on the defensive, to long-time war, is under the effect of Ukrainian counter-strike Operation Strike in 2023. Let's dive into the hot conflict on the front lines. Now the Ukrainian army continues to repel Russian attacks. In a statement shared by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Russia has done it all with an explosion-launched 7 missiles, 18 airstrikes, and more than 85 attacks from various rocket launch systems that targeted civilian infrastructure in Operation Chromatorix, and Kherson's rocket cranes and artillery troops delivered another blow. Russia by destroying 2 Russian command posts, 5 personnel gathering areas in ammunition depots and drone checkpoints. The Ukrainian army also confirmed that the attacks on Tukmak, Marito-Pol, Berdyansk, Polohier region and Vasilivka in Asia Zaporizhzhia region on 2 January resulted in Russia losing at least 2 ammunition depots. 10 different types of military equipment were destroyed in the same attack, according to the Ukrainian army. At least 260 Russian soldiers were killed and injured in Ukraine. Continues targeting Russian troops with devastating attack waves. Ukrainian army blows up Russia ammunition depot. Ukrainian army, which continues targeting the target situation with US-made HIMARS, announces that hundreds of Russian soldiers die in the attack. Ukraine deals another blow to Russia. Ukraine reports that at least 500 Russian troops Russians killed or wounded standing in rocket fire. Ukraine killed many soldiers criticized by Russia. Their commanders are outraged, starting from Russian nationalists and some lawmakers demanding punishment for commanders they accuse of neglecting danger. Russia is confused again by the failure of the occupation movement that is idling in the territory of Ukraine, is increasing day by day in Svatova in the Luhansk area. The ammunition depot that the Russians had been setting up for 2 weeks exploded. The Russians and local collaborators had been bringing the ammunition there secretly and almost unnoticed for almost 2 weeks. Therefore, the Ukrainian armed forces had to wait a bit and record the quantity of the Ural drugs who broke into the base, after which they blew up the Russian ammunition depot. In video footage from a drone dropping explosives showing Russian troops fleeing moments before a Chulukivka with hundreds of suspected casualties on a farm, admitting rare casualties. Russia said on Monday that 63 soldiers died when the makeshift deployment point in Makivka was hit by a Mars missile attack. High in eastern Ukraine, held by pro-masked separatists since 2014, Ukraine claims responsibility for Sarathat and said the death toll was much higher. Pro-channels, war exacted punishment from criminal commanders who gathered hundreds of people who mobilized to invite Ukraine into further potentially embarrassing attacks, since it was revealed that the attacks took place while pre-recorded New Year's speeches played on television across Russia on the other side in the first 2 days. New Year. Russian occupation forces attack Ukraine with Iranian-made drones, more than 80 destroyed by Ukrainian defense forces. Russia is planning a new long-range strike with the head of the Shah, so it is emphasized that everyone involved in the protection of the skies must now be very careful. Chief, the country thanked the Central, Southern and Eastern Air Command for the successful protection of N from the sky today. It also noted the work of the fighters of the new 96th Kiev, 208th Kherson and 138th Pro anti-aircraft missiles, bridging the fighters of the 301st Nikopol Anti-Aircraft Missile Regiment and the entire 39th Air Missile Regiment of the Zelensky Air Force Regiment, added that everyone currently involved in the protection of the sky of Ukraine should exercise caution, even though the winter months are very difficult for both sides militarily. Ukraine still has the advantage of protecting its own lands from the occupiers and effective support from the international community because climatic conditions affect the pace of the conflict on both sides, who are better prepared to act in these climatic conditions always maintain the possibility of winning the battle with the full support of the people of the region. Ukraine continues its effectiveness by receiving real and effective support from the international community. Victims and often do not recognize the facts to carry out the orders of military and political leaders. They are clear that this continues to lead to a series of regional conflicts in both Asia and the Middle East. Commenting on the possibility of peace negotiations, experts note that in response to all international efforts to end conflicts and return to negotiation table, Ukraine has openly expressed its readiness to negotiate, but this should only be negotiations that will actually end the war and provide security guarantees. Our Zelensky zero steps were ready for negotiations, as it was the response from the Communications Strategy Office was so suspended that the war for accumulating resources prepared reserves were mobilized and then resumed aggression. "We do not see this as a bid to end the war, and therefore it is unacceptable for Ukraine," stressed that there is only one scenario for the development of the war, furthermore namely full liberation of the Ukrainian lands. Ukrainian President Zelensky reaffirmed that the Ukrainian army will continue its offensive wholeheartedly to reach this president of Ukraine. "Now is the time when everyone involved in protecting the skies has to be very careful. The Russian regime needs to evoke emotions, something they want to show their country to keep the lie that everything is going according to plan. Our task is to bring Ukraine every day successful achievements, even though small, but still win against terrorism and terrorism," he said. If you want to follow the hot developments closely, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.